Welcome to Inside the Program on Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm your host, as always, Justin Wells, and with me, as always, is Eric Nalleen. This is always a good Friday show for us. Like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. We're climbing up those subs. We need more. Come listen to us. Come see us. And also come to InsideTexas.com. We're running a special March Madness, man. Spring football, recruiting visitors. Texas and Rodney Terry get to the round of 32. There's so much to cover. Come see us at InsideTexas.com for $1 a month. Eric, let's jump right into it. Spring football is real. No more underwear. And tomorrow they're going to wear some armor. But yesterday was the last day. Let's talk a little bit about the first two practices, noticeably the last ones. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. We're going to talk about some of the young standouts. And then we're going to go to some of the recruiting visitors that hit Austin this weekend. Quarterbacks, everyone wants to talk about it. Everyone loves to hear about it. Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. Sounds like they're doing pretty well. Sounds like Quinn might be taking that next jump in confidence. It sounds like Arch is being Arch. What's the latest that you'd heard in our team report this morning?
Yeah, unfortunately, we were rained out as far as access on Thursday morning for the viewing window. But that doesn't mean much at Inside Texas because we always have people to call up and get the latest. So, what we heard on Quinn is exactly what you would want to hear and what you should expect to hear now entering his junior season. That he's just much more confident as a passer and also as a leader. He's taken those next steps. Like we heard last year, it's gone incrementally. He's just as much as he took a step last year. I think he's taken that next step this season. Everybody's expecting really big things. He looked good in the pro day passing, but he's looking really good when the media is not there as well. He's connecting with the receivers, hitting a lot of deep balls that have people very excited for his upcoming season.
And that's the biggest thing. And they love hearing updates about Arch, but here's the thing: that Arch is on schedule. And I think that's what people need to understand. He's in a position now where I feel like Sark would be comfortable if he had to put Arch in a pinch, in the 2024 season. And I'm not sure he could have said that a year ago. And so he's also, the trajectory is the same for Arch. A lot of people were expecting him to, a lot of outside national people were expecting a potential transfer. That was never going to happen. Arch is an Austin kid. And that's the biggest thing. These two quarterbacks are going to be the backbone for Texas for the next 2 or 3 years. We talked to a couple sources about some of these young standouts, and something you and I had heard quite a bit is how deep this freshman class is just by recognizing it and seeing the guys that are on campus early. But talking to a couple people yesterday, Eric, this group it really is deep. Each guy in some aspect adds something. Yeah. I'm going to go through a couple of the guys that we have been hearing from. I'll hand it off to you. Alex January and Zena Umeozulu, two guys I'm not sure we're going to make impacts, in 2024. But what's the early stuff we're hearing about these guys?
Well, I mean, they're probably overshooting their evaluation, at least maybe not what the staff expected out of them, but surely what fans and even the network guys thought of them. I thought January looked fantastic his senior year.
Yeah,
I don't know how he flew under the radar at Duncanville. I guess everybody was focused on Simmons and maybe some of the other players, but good Lord, man, he looked good as a senior, looked good as a junior to me. It was always a no-brainer take. I mean, go back to him being a freshman and hitting the baseball. He looked like a take on the football field as running the bases as a freshman. So, I mean, he's moving a lot better than anybody I think expected. But really, the combination of his movement skills with his physical maturity has everybody kind of blowing away. Maybe we should raise our expectations for this season. Maybe he's not a longer curve guy. I think he's going to play this year. He's going to force his way into the rotation is what I'm thinking. Now we want to hear more about him with the pads coming on. That's going to be a big thing. Is he looks strong, but does he play strong? Does he hold the point of attack? We know he's technically refined, so I'm pretty optimistic he will be able to hold the point of attack at least to some degree. Then Zena came in with a very good starter kid. I noticed it on Tuesday. Sources are saying the same thing. He's not close to what he's going to be in a couple of years. He's going to top out at about 265, maybe 270 chiseled pounds. As long as he keeps growing and putting on good weight and maintaining his movement skills, that bend and that ability to run the arc, I think he's got a chance to make a lot of plays at Texas, potentially become a star. He's not going to be needed as much this year. You got Barron Sorrell, who's physically mature. The opportunity for Ethan Burke to probably play over there as well. Jamon Tapp is probably going to play. But Zena's future is very bright, and he's turning a lot of heads already.
And of note, Alex January is still 17 years old. Zena just turned 18. I mean, these guys are just now, scratching the surface. One guy on the offensive side that we were intrigued hearing yesterday was Aaron Butler, and I feel like he's like the forgotten guy in some respects. He came in late out of California. Dad had a pro career, and so if you watched him, this kid was absolutely tremendous on tape, and apparently he's making some impressions on guys inside the program. What are you hearing about Butler on that offensive side?
Yeah, I think he kind of flew under the radar because he did come into the class so late, but also because everybody was focused on the portal so much around that time that he did commit.
Good point.
It's always a good thing. It's not always a good thing. It's usually a good thing when coaching staffs go after a player late. Now, unless they're just filling late needs, and sometimes you can see them make a reach. Maybe not this staff, but other staffs have done it. They don't reach, so that was a good sign automatically. Clearly, they like Butler based on the senior film. He is an electric athlete. He's fluid. He's fast. He's going to be able to run vertical routes pretty effectively. Now, again, it's a loaded room. It's going to be hard for him to hit the field and make a lot of plays this season. But the future is he's showing the early signs of a future star down the road.
And Butler also has some DB tendencies. If something didn't work out at receiver, he could easily move over to the defensive side and be good. But I have this feeling that Chris Jackson might try to hang on to him a little while.
Well, Sark's got veto power on all that. He's not losing an offensive weapon. It's going to be like old John Malkovich. Kwame Cavill would have been a hell of a linebacker. But he was a really good wide receiver. Sark's not losing offense, so he's not going to lose that debate to any defensive coaches.
Hey, man, I'll tell you another early standout in the spring, and that's Andre the Lawyer. This is a guy that he's located in Dallas, and he's a guy that if you ever get in trouble, if you're ever dealing with 18-wheeler accidents, injuries, car wrecks, slip and falls, on-the-job injuries, any of that sort, you get in trouble, you get stuck, you need to call Andre the Lawyer, 214-444-8808. That's Andre the Lawyer. He's a longtime Longhorn, but he will help all. He has no bias. This man is big time. Andre the Lawyer, please give him a call if you need him. 214-444-8808. Couple other names that have been turning heads for the first week or so, Eric, and these were guys I was told obvious. Like it's obvious, but they wanted to be mentioned and they needed to be mentioned. And that's Colin Simmons and Ryan Wingo, probably your two of your highest rated guys that joined the 2024 class. What are we hearing from two guys that I think the expectations were already a little high, and it feels like they're close to matching that, at least at this point?
Yeah, I mean, they're obvious talents. It's anybody could spot those two. They look different, they move different, they act different. Very confident players. Just physically mature, athletically gifted. They're just ahead of the curve in pretty much every way. Ryan Wingo, I think, is going to force his way onto the field. We know Colin Simmons is going to play in the first game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing in the first quarter in a package, just, like we saw Anthony Hill quick last year. But Ryan Wingo's one to watch because, Sark has the hesitance to play a lot of wide receivers, but I think that's going to change a little bit this year. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep Ryan Wingo off the field. He provides something different from all the guys on the roster. Even Matthew Golden and Bond and Jonte Cook. These guys are very good receivers. They're vertical threats, but they don't have the physical power and stature that Ryan Wingo does. I don't think they have the catch radius that Wingo has. And Wingo is a really easy mover on the ground as well. So he's already running good routes. So I don't know how they're going to keep Wingo off the field, and we know Simmons is going to play a lot. These two kind of do go without saying that they're ready to play early.
Yeah, and one other name I wanted to mention that we had heard is Parker Livingstone. That was the freshman early enrollee out of Lucas Lovejoy. To me, it's notable because he had an injury in the second week of the season his senior year, and he missed the rest of the season. And so I know that was a big deal getting him back healthy, and the fact that he's looking good, he's looking fluid, I thought was a good note because he's your stereotypical outside vertical threat that I think Sark wants to be able to stretch defenses, be able to get down the field. And so I liked hearing Livingstone's name as well. I'm going to jump into the tight end room because when you lose to Jatavian Sanders, that's a big punch. This was a 3-year guy that did a lot of things on the 40 acres and is going to have a good career in the NFL. Hey, Gunnar Helm, we knew he was coming back. He was the sidekick for Sanders for so long. What are we hearing about Gunnar Helm and the Alabama transfer Amari Niblack?
Yeah, Helm is really becoming more of a leader, but he's extremely focused on filling the void, both in leadership. Jatavian did provide some good leadership in the room, and also, what he's missing on the field. Those are big shoes to fill. He's not going to be as dynamic as a receiver, but he's going to probably be a better two-way player as far as offering good blocking ability and quality receiving ability at the same time. He's somebody that's going to open up the playbook for Sark. I don't think he's going to leave the field a whole lot, but I do anticipate them running quite a bit of 12 personnel, and that's where Nyblack comes in. Nyblack is he's got some good size to him, and he's a quality receiver. He's going to stretch the field. So between the two, they're going to be able to overcome the loss of Jatavian. That's not a huge. It's going to be a dynamic tight end tandem. I don't think there's any concerns, but I think Helm's got a chance to really turn some heads. And Texas sources, coaches, they think that he's an NFL player. So I'm excited to see what he has to offer this season. We saw plenty of glimpses this past year.
And I know it kind of drops off a little bit after Nyblack, but I will make a note that Jordan Washington looked the part on Tuesday when we were able to have that window. You know, he's got a long road to climb. We understand that, but those former basketball players, I've got an infinity for them, and he looks good. He looks like a real deal. That's a guy that you put in the oven, you let him bake.
He's not. Well, he's not coming in as a 215-pound tight end. He's already up to around 235, maybe even 240. So he has quite a bit of size to him, and we know he has want to as a blocker. And then the thing that is most likely to translate, you always want to know what traits are going to translate to college, is his receiving ability. So, I mean, he's got a chance. I was very high on him. Like January, I was very high on these two. If you watch the tape, you can see some really quality players. I don't know why. Sometimes people just get an early reputation, and that's hung around their neck their entire scholastic career. If you look at these guys as senior film, I mean, how are they not top 100 guys? I don't get it. But I think I have very high expectations for Jordan Washington, and I do anticipate he's going to play this season.
Talking about a little bit recruiting, let's jump into that a little bit. You know, team is a big deal at Inside Texas. So is recruiting. They go hand in hand like you and me. And so we got some visitors now. You know, there's some 7-on-7 squads on their way to Houston this weekend, and they're going to make stops in Austin to come through and check out and kind of get the visit service. Let's go through a few of those names that have been on the radar. We've talked about these guys at InsideTexas.com a few times already, but let's make sure and give the audience a refresher. One of the first names is Corey Simmons. He's a wide receiver out of St. Louis. Another is Lincoln Cure, one of the top tight ends out of Kansas. And then you've got KJ Ford, a rising edge, the next up, people might think, out of Duncanville. Let's start with those three. What are your thoughts on those guys, and kind of what do you think those guys are looking for?
You know, it's a big visit for Sims because Texas has a fairly set wide receiver board at this point. They know the guys they like. They've had a number of guys on campus. They've had conversations with most of these guys going on, months, if not years.
Yeah.
Sims is kind of new to the board. But he's from St. Louis, so people automatically think of guys like Luther Burden and Ryan Wingo, and he does possess that power element that those guys have. He's a bigger receiver, and he can run. I'm very intrigued by that kid. His tape is really, really good. If you watch his tape, I don't know anything about him. I don't know his mental eval. I don't. Maybe his hands are inconsistent, but if you watch the tape, the kid can play anywhere in the country. So I'm very intrigued by him. I can't wait to hear more about him after his visit, and not only from him but also from sources. What are they saying about him? How did he interact? Is he somebody that they want to coach? Does he fit within the program? All these things you have to learn about these guys on their first visit.
Yeah.
Lincoln Cure, another one of your basketball players at tight end. Fantastic athlete out of Kansas.
He looks good.
Yeah, he's a really good athlete, really good tight end. You don't have to be an exceptional athlete to play tight end, but when you are a really good athlete, it makes a world of difference. He's going to visit A&M, and that's, I think Texas at this point is more of a courtesy visit. The family has the family has very close ties to Kleiman. Not Kleiman, I'm sorry. Well, him too as well.
Yeah.
But also Colin Klein at A&M, their new offensive coordinator. So that's, I can see that one probably not going UT's way. That's fine. Texas has a very good big board at tight end. But it's good to get that guy on campus because you never know. You never know if he's going to click with Jeff Banks, maybe like something about the campus. Who knows? You get the visit and then let everything play out after that. KJ Ford, a lot more about that kid being from Duncanville and, being around him a long time covering those Duncanville players.
This kid, it just seems like it's a factory at this point. It's an assembly line of dudes that come out of Pantherland. Reginald Samples in the back-to-back Duncanville state champions. Ford really, I think, had his breakthrough last year. People kind of saw the growth. Now they're seeing the upside. They're seeing the frame, and they're seeing the quickness. He loves Colin Simmons. and he also loves Texas.
Yeah.
And this is going to be his third time to be in Texas in about a 9-month range. And so talking to him yesterday, he's excited to get back. He's really excited to say hi to some of his friends because now that pipeline from Duncanville has just widened. And I think the fact that he gets to see Alex, Colin, Cam, and those guys is a big deal. A couple other guys we want to make a note that are going to be in on Saturday. Keandre Johnson, jumbo athlete out of Terrell, you and I are big fans of. Colton Guillory. Yeah,
Cortland.
is that right?
Yeah. You said his last name right. But what'd you say his first name was?
Cortland.
Okay, it came out funny. It's Cortland Guillory. I'm proud of you.
That's the twang.
What our viewers have to know is every day is a new day with Justin and these names. So we have to kind of go over them first. And I didn't think we'd have to go over Cortland Guillory. You mean we live in Texas? There's Guillories all over the place. There's even a Guillory committed to Texas, but and Racine Guillory in the 2026 class. But every day's an adventure on Inside Texas football.
Yeah, Keandre Johnson and Guillory to me are guys that those are upside guys. I mean, listen, Keandre Johnson, if he's in last year's class, I think he's offered, and I think he's one of the top guys that tied in on the big board. He can also play some edge. And it's not just Texas. He's got an official visit to LSU scheduled. He's got an official visit to Texas A&M. SMU is doing a real good job there as well. We got to see Guillory on Sunday. He got to work out at the Under Armour event in spring. He did pretty well. He moves really light on his feet. He's also pretty light in the britches, and so I know that strength training is going to be a big deal for him. And then there's Keelan Abrams, which I think that's the outside linebacker from DeSoto. He's a guy that's a little under the radar. Texas has kind of been in contact with him pretty consistently over the last 3 or 4 months. He's got officials to Nebraska, TCU, and Purdue. It's one of those. It's not, I wouldn't say such star-studded, but there's one guy that we really want to make note, and that's Brandon Brown. That's an actual Texas commit. He is going to be on campus today, this Friday. And then on Saturday, Inside Texas is going to see him in Houston for his 7-on-7 tournament. He's coming in with his folks. He's coming in with some coaches. How big is this first visit, this first impression with Sark and with Kenny Baker?
Yeah, that's a big one. Got to firm him up. Obviously these are all huge battles at defensive tackle. They're hard to get. They're hard to keep. If you've got a guy that that wants to come to Texas or likes Texas, you got to win him over. This is a major visit. This is a major opportunity for Baker, for Sark, for Texas to show, hey, you committed to us for a reason. Hopefully everything lives up to what the research he did at home was. He spent a lot of time on the internet before he committed to Texas. So I'm sure, does everything live up to it? So I think it's a major opportunity. I've likened him to a Malcolm Brown sort of guy. He's not the biggest, but he's athletic with some bounce to him. I think he's a penetrator. He could probably grow into that Byron Murphy role that we saw this past season. He's probably never going to have that play strength that Byron had, but he's a good one. I'm thinking Cortland's one to watch though. Cortland Guillory's a big one to watch. He hasn't been at Texas yet. He was beaming when he got that offer, and then it was right before the dead period, and so he went to OU. So OU kind of got the inside track on him. I think Texas is going to make a big push this week, and I think Texas is going to have a chance to come neck and neck with OU, and I like UT long-term if Texas pushes.
Listen, that's how we do it at Inside Texas. We hit team, we hit recruiting. Go to InsideTexas.com. That's our norm. That's what we do on a regular basis. Please like and subscribe to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel. Again, come see us at InsideTexas.com. It is March Madness. It is spring football madness. It is recruiting madness. It is always madness, no matter if I'm trying to pronounce a player's name, or if we're covering a 7-on-7 all throughout the state. Hey, thank you, Eric, for joining us. Fans and viewers, thank you so much for making us a part of your day. And thank you for watching us on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.